Good morning to all who are listening. So, today's session is going to be about homeschooling, how I got into it, and how do I go about it. So, I got into homeschooling my boys when COVID first hit, but COVID was just a push into the direction I was trying to go anyway, because my husband is stationed away. I thought that I was going to want to go with him. I thought it was going to be too hard to finagle the boys by myself. So I figured homeschooling would be the easiest route, considering he is in the military and we're going to have to move around a lot. I comes with the me starting homeschooling came me testing my boys, and when I was testing my boys at the beginning of last year, I was not satisfied with where they were sitting at as far as their academics. I could see every day that my son would come home, he'd always have great grades, and his teacher always would explain and would be congratulative about how well behaved he was and how great grades he would get. But when I went to testing him, I was not happy at the levels that he was at. I used a few different tests that were at the level that he was supposed to be at, and I gathered them and put them together and mixed up some of the questions and things like that to see just where his level was, and I was just not satisfied. And this is with my oldest. My youngest was just going into kindergarten, so I wasn't too leery about him, but I did do a small screening on him to see where he was at. And again, I was not happy and I was not satisfied with what the results were. So that's what made homeschooling even easier for me. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I finagle homeschooling when I have 3 different boys? I was able to finagle homeschooling by setting schedules for each child. So in the mornings for all of them, I start a morning binder for them. I created a personalized morning binder per child that is geared towards each one, that they have 25 minutes to work on. And within that 25 minutes, whatever they get done, those points goes towards their daily points. So it's not counted against them if they don't get any of it done or they don't get it done, but it does help them. It boosts if they do any of the questions that are within their binders or answers in their binders. So with my oldest, I have him on math in the morning because I know that's when his brain actually gets jumping. Is in the morning. So I started him with math, and what I do is my youngest son, he's usually not even up yet, and I'm not going to force him up just yet. But being that he was 1 at the time, I would have him either he sleep or have him go watch his Swahili videos or his English learning videos. Meanwhile, I do like a quick quiz, a 5 to 10 minute quiz towards my oldest. And while I'm doing that quiz towards my oldest, I have my middle son, who was at the time 5, my middle son to do some out loud reading with me. So, with that, how I was able to switch up would be after lunch. I would do math then with my middle son, and my oldest son would get a little free time to, just kind of rest his mind a little bit. And they love the fact that they don't have math on Fridays. I do not give anything that has to do with math on Fridays, besides their binders, of course. They have the binders are daily, so, but they're not required to have to do any math in the binder. Again, those binders don't work against them. They are to help them. They're to boost their daily points for the day. So, and my middle son, Mage, he likes to do his reading, and reading is a little more just a little more harder than math with him. Math is his go-to, so I figured this would be easier. I gave them their challenging subjects early in the day, and then in the end of the day, I switch it out to something that I know that they would enjoy. So, with math and handwriting and language arts, my youngest is on it. But my oldest is not really a big fan of math. So that's why I start him early. As far as afternoon goes, we've had our lunch, we've had our recess time. Gatari, which is my youngest, he usually either is taking a nap or having free time with his brother, because my oldest is already having his free time. So, and then we switch into social studies or science. Now, I don't do social studies or science every day. And I also don't do gym and art within the same day. So I switch in and out with those. So that's what makes it easier for me to finagle all three as far as first year goes. Now this year, I'm not sure. My middle son, Mage, is actually wanting to go back to public school. My oldest is still wanting to stay in homeschooling, and my youngest son, I've actually recently signed up for part-time daycare for 3 days. Not because I had to, get him gone from me, but I wanted him to be able to interact with children that were his age. Because when we would go to the parks or go to museums or anything like that, and other kids would be around his age and playing, he would always play off to his side or play with his brothers. He would never play with kids that were actually his size. So I decided to want to put him in 3 days of part-time daycare. So now it's like, how am I going to finagle that? I think what I am going to do, because I would still love for my older two to still be homeschooled. I think what I'm going to do, I am going to keep the older two within homeschooling, and I'll still allow my youngest to go to daycare on the 3 days that he's going, but then on the 2 days that he's not there, I'll have more time, more one-on-one time with him as far as his learning goes. Now, I will say my son, my 2-year-old, is a little advanced due to his brothers and, of course, being in the homeschooling classrooms with us and listening and stuff. So he already knows his colors. He knows his shapes. He knows his numbers. He knows how to point out what shape, what color, what number that is. As far as lowercase letters, he's very well at lowercase letters. So we're working on sounds of the words or sounds of the letters and things like that. And of course, what words that would start with that letter. So he's actually pretty good on that part. And my only fear with him being in daycare is that he will go backwards, which I hope that he doesn't. His teacher has been very informative with me as far as what's going on with his classroom. So I don't foresee it happening, but I never know. With my oldest, he's going now into 4th grade, and my middle is going now into 1st grade. So I want to still stick to the same schedules that I had them on, but of course changing up their schooling a little bit there. And you're probably wondering, what programs am I using to homeschool? I don't use one specific program. The reason being is they have so many different ways of learning certain things that they are interested in that I just what I did is I downloaded some apps that I thought that they could work with And I could see which ones they are favoritive of. And so those are the ones that I, keep on the top for them as far as their tablets go. Meanwhile, the ones that they feel are so much harder or they just have no interest in, I keep those on the lower end when it comes to the setting or the files of their tablet. Now, I will say that the application IXL Learning has become our best friend. Now, some parents, and I've seen on the comments on Facebook and things like that, they don't like IXL because they feel like it, the kids don't like it. But my kids are actually okay with it. They're good with it. They get frustrated because if they've answered a question more than 3 times wrong, then it sends them back to the beginning of, what it's been teaching. And I love that part about it because it's reiterating what they've learned. So my boys might not be happy that they had to go all the way back, but then every time that they've had to go all the way back, they've always took it steps forward until they got 100%. So that is why I love that application. And then for my middle son and my youngest son, they are still able to use ABC Mouse. So I do let them use ABC Mouse. 1 for entertainment purposes and 2, of course, for learning. And my oldest son, he's on Adventure Academy, which is the spin-off of ABC Mouse, but it's made for older children. So I let him use that. And then they have several different other applications. I can't think of what that application is called. Give me just a moment here. But it's with the owl. And I like the fact that you're able to set up lessons for your children. Like you can set them up and you can set in the order how you want them to learn these lessons. And then it gives you details of when they worked on the lesson, how far they've gotten as far as percentage goes. And yes, so I do enjoy that application. As far as any extracurriculars, I've already mentioned art and gym, PE, are switched on and off. Social studies is a switch on and off as well. There is no math on Fridays, so I don't give math tests or anything like that on Fridays. Thursdays are the math test days. So they get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to prepare for the tests, depending on the test or what we're talking about. And then Thursday is the day of the testing. So what I usually do for the lengthier lessons, I would start the week before with prepping them for learning then the math that's going to be talked about the following week. As far as art goes, I don't have any specific curriculums as far as art. I'm not going to grade them on art. I know that one son, he loves being artistic. So he loves building things in general. So his way of doing his art is going to be totally different from his brother's, because one has a real passion for it and the other one that's not his thing. His thing is video games, just being honest. So he wants to learn about video gaming. So with that, with math involved, I'm wanting to also start working on coding this year with my oldest, because he's the gamer guy. So if he can learn coding and then have that to collaborate with his math, then he'd be one smart cookie as far